the 2-0. Turned in the air to right field. Going back of Gonzalez out the wall. Goodbye. 3-0 in Game 5.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 13 of M&A Sports Talk. I'm Matthew Kaufman, joined alongside co-hosts Adam Rothschild and Aiden Rowan. Guys, how we doing?
You know, it's been quite the week, but I'm still hyped up and happy about that last podcast we ended up doing when we were all together.
Yeah, that was a great last podcast we had at Arugas, of course. Once again, shout out to Arugas. Thank you for supporting us and allowing us to do our podcast there. And, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. And for some of us, it was a little bit of a rough weekend because the script apparently was broken. Yeah, we'll get to all that later. Also, we have a very special guest going to be joining us in just a little while later on tonight. We have Troy from Recap Knicks on Instagram. You can go follow him. I'll put his Instagram description and tag in the description on YouTube. Let's start with baseball, though, and some exciting news for the New York Yankees. The bats have started to come alive, it seems like, in these last couple of days. We saw the big comeback win on Friday. Huge comeback win on Saturday, down 6-0 entering the bottom of the fifth inning. Higashioka hits the home run. Judge hits the home run. Then more runs score in the bottom of the sixth inning when Judge hits another 2-run home run. The Cabrera 2-run RBI single. Just all around, the bats have really started to come around for the New York Yankees.
I was starting to wonder when, they would start to come alive. Our pitching started off really hot, and now I feel like the roles have kind of reversed. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same thing. Our pitching isn't as elite and shut down, but our bats are on fire right now.
Yeah, I would say this, the captain was gone. He comes back. We come on this crazy hot streak. But especially with a team like the Tampa Bay Rays, one of the best teams in baseball right now, you got to give them credit. They came into New York, but the Yankees showed that they're not done yet. It's still early in the season, and people were starting to dwindle a little bit on the Yankees. But now with Judge and all these guys getting these huge, big hits for New York, it's been great now for the Yankees. And this was the momentum shift that they needed early in the season. Yeah, and for this Yankee team, you look back on Saturday's game, just overall, Nestor Cortez Jr., he gave up that grand slam in the top of the fifth inning to Yandy Diaz. Then Rosarena got the infield hit that was originally called out, then got overturned by the umpires. That all went out the door after the bottom of the fifth inning started because it was all set up by the walk. And we heard Paul O'Neill mention this, actually, on Saturday afternoon with Michael Kay. Listening to the broadcast, it was all set up by the walks because that's exactly what this team does so well. They know how to take the pitches. They're not a team that strikes out a lot in a game. When you have a very good pitcher like, Shane McClanahan on the mound and you can hit a home run to start it off like Higashioka did, then you have Torres come on. He works that walk in a good at-bat. Then Judge. Then the following inning, obviously, it starts all with Anthony Volpe on that infield bunt. Got the single, got past the glove of Isaac Paredes. Then he steals second. Then when Bowers is up, he steals third. Torres comes up. He stole third base. Then he scored on the very next pitch because he stole third. So all those things set up the momentum. Then Torres works that walk. Judge hits the big 2-run home run to take the lead. That's what sets it up for the New York Yankees.
I heard you mention walk a lot during that conversation, and I guess it's better to get into this sooner or later. How do we feel about? I'm gonna ask Matt first. How do you feel about Mr. Clark Schmidt? Do you think? Because in my opinion, every time I see him lose and everything, I don't put as much blame as most people would on him because at the end of the day, he's not the only one calling the what pitch to throw. He has Higashioka behind the bump. Maybe if you set Trevino, not behind the bump, behind the plate. Maybe if you set Trevino, the outcome can be different. I don't know. What are you feeling about that?
I definitely think that it's not all on Clark Schmidt. And again, we talked about this a few times now he was developing the cutter during the offseason. He pitched very well, I think, in spring training. And pitching as well as he did in the spring, that's the whole reason he got the starting job. Now, do I see him still having that role when Severino and Rodon come back? No.
Can I see him in the bullpen? Absolutely, because that's what he was last year for the Yankees. And I think that once Clark Schmidt eventually begins to get better with his command and that cutter, he's a very dominant pitcher. We could see that. He gets the strikeouts, he gets the location, but when he makes a mistake, it's going to cost him, and it's going to cost the New York Yankees in a way as well.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you the same question, Adam. What do you think? How are you feeling about Clark Schmidt?
He's one of those pitchers where I'm just like, I have question marks. Like, I'm just thinking, is it going to go bad? Is it going to go good? It's always on and off games with Clark Schmidt. Like, I watched him pitch in AAA, and obviously it was a lot different, you know? That was about last year. And it's a little bit different now. And I think, obviously, what Matt was saying before about when the starters come back off the injured list, he's going to be better out of the bullpen because he'll feel more comfortable in those situations where he's not pitching, 6-7 innings. He's gonna have those times where the pressure is a little bit more off of him. The pressure is on Aaron Boone because he's the one making those moves.
Yeah, and another thing that we talk about, and we've mentioned this, I know, so many times between all of us, but just the fact that it's a team that has struggled, obviously, in so many different ways. I mean, the pitching was struggled. It's just everything that kind of has gone through this loophole, it seems like, for the Yankees. Now, if you go back to last year, remember what happened last year with New York. They were great up until August and just went downhill. That's what cost them. It seemed like the number one seed in the American League, and what cost them maybe more home playoff games against the Houston Astros. They were on a roll. They were on a tear. Just like last year, they started off hot. We know they won those few series, the first 5 or so series to start the season. Then it all went downhill. Their bats started to struggle. They lost to Aaron Judge. But it doesn't counter to you got to be consistent with the offense. And so does the pitching. Garrett Cole can't be out there every 5 or 6 days throwing 7 strong innings. You need your other starters like Cortez, Clark Schmidt, Domingo Germán, Johnny Brito to get going again. Because we said it last week, Adam, and we said it the week before. It's the offense that scores you runs, but it's the pitching that holds the other team from scoring runs.
Now, I heard you mention the pitching a lot, and the injury bug is a terrible thing for the New York Yankees. Rodon hasn't even started this year. Same thing with Severino. I'm not 100% sure about Loizaga, but when it comes down to it, Garrett Cole, like you just said, is definitely our best pitcher. With the last 2 outings he had against Tampa, not so hot. They did kind of figure him out, gave up his first home runs of the season. But what kind of has me a little bit wondering and a little bit scared is Nestor Cortez. Last few starts hasn't been the hottest that we've seen him. And, I'm really hoping that he's not going to turn into a bust or a fluke. I'm really hoping that things end up changing around. Maybe it's because we played arguably the hottest team in baseball last series, but I'm really hoping he can turn it around.
I can tell you there's no argument about that. They are the best team in baseball. It seems like everything that they've done offensively, pitching has been great. Shane McClanahan, who got his first loss really against the Yankees. But let's go from New York and stay in New York to the New York Mets. They're a team that it seems like, and the Mets have kind of struggled in recent games. They lost 2 out of 3 in their previous series to the Nationals. Sorry, they won 2. They split the series against the Nationals, 2 games each. They lost 2 of the 3 games against against the Reds the week before, and they lost 2 or 3 against the Rockies. Then they lost all 3 of them against the Tigers. So the Mets are another team that really would love to get going as well.
Yeah, but when you are the Mets, and you are definitely, I'm going to say this with strong beliefs, playoff contenders, you cannot be losing to teams like the Tigers, the Rockies, the Reds, the Nationals. I know the Nationals won the World Series a couple years ago, but when you look at their roster now, especially with the Reds, they haven't really changed, if not gotten worse. You just can't be losing the series to teams like that. That's games that you must capitalize on and build off all that confidence because you have a tough series coming up. You have a 3-game set starting tomorrow with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I would say this, the only team right now that has a worse losing record right now than the Mets with this losing streak is the Oakland A's, who the Yankees just played a couple days ago. And obviously, looking at these teams, these are teams that the Mets should be dominating right now. They should have swept at least 2 of these series, especially the Tigers and the Nationals and the team in their division. And the Mets right now are almost at the bottom of their division. And especially with the team they have, many people would expect that they would be higher right now, up there with teams like Philadelphia and Atlanta, especially because the Braves are up there and they're up for that spot, just like they were last year. And it's that same case. And obviously tomorrow they're going to have Justin Verlander pitching his debut at Citi Field. So that's going to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and another thing to look at, you look at teams like the Phillies and the Braves. Braves just got swept by the Orioles. Excuse me, not the Orioles, the Blue Jays, which the Yankees are playing today, which is 3-0, by the way, if you're keeping track of that score. Yankees over the Blue Jays. Aaron Judge hit a big solo home run, and Willie Calhoun with a 2-run shot. But to think, Braves just got swept by the Blue Jays. They're up in the AL East contention as well with the Orioles and the Yankees and the Rays. Obviously, it seems like everybody's up for grabs in the AL East. Rays are running away with it, it seems like. They're winning left and right. But for these teams like the Phillies, they just get Bryce Harper back. He's had some big games. Then he gets ejected yesterday in Colorado for barking at the relief pitcher for the Rockies in the 7th inning. So you get him back. This Philadelphia team has needed him. It's missed him without a doubt. But now not only is New York having to face other teams, but they're facing a better Phillies team with a healthy Bryce Harper. They're facing a Mets team that they're kicking themselves in the foot because they can't beat themselves right now. They're facing the Braves, who are struggling to get back on track, but they're one of the best teams in the division. So there's no doubt that the Mets need to get going and kick into high gear because they're a team that I'll tell you, if they don't get going, it's going to be a long road to the playoffs for the New York Mets.
Now, I'm going to, change a little bit of course right here. We're going to do a little game. I'm going to start off with, I'm going to ask Matt, I'm going to ask you, Adam, of league leaders in the MLB. So right now, who do you think, Matt, is a league leader in saves?
In saves? I got to say Jason Adam from the Tampa Bay Rays. It's either Jason in the American League, I got to say Jason Adam, or a former Yankee, Aroldis Chapman, but I could be wrong about Chapman.
Now, what do you think, Adam?
I think I'm going to go with Chapman, I think I'm going to go with Chapman, sadly, but I have to.
Surprisingly, none of the ones you list are even top 5.
Really? Who's got the league leader in saves?
Leader is Emmanuel Clase.
Okay.
I completely forgot about him.
Now, we'll do 2 more. I would tell you the pitching lead, the most wins, but that's a little easy. I'm going to give you the highest batting average. So, start off with you, Matt.
What was it, batting average?
Yep.
Well, National League, I got to go with Luis Arraez. He is tearing up down there in Miami. There's no doubt about that. Am I wrong?
Well, I'll ask Adam first, and then I'll let you guys know.
All right. He's keeping it tough on us today,
Yeah. American League.
The whole league. Out of the whole league.
Oh, the whole league. I don't know, honestly.
I gotta go. If we're going just based on the week, it's got to be Anthony Rizzo because he just won American League Player of the Week. Shout out to my man, my favorite Yankee right now, Anthony Rizzo.
He's got that Rizzo game.
It's gotta be Rizzo or in Luis Arraez, Aiden.
So what are you thinking, Adam?
I gotta be loyal. I gotta go with Rizzo.
Rizzo. Well, Matt, I would say you did get it right. Luis Arraez with a .382 batting average.
Let's go.
Month into the season. Now this one, the last and final one, it didn't surprise me. I have him in fantasy. I'm not going to lie. It did not surprise me when I saw this league leading stat. League leaders in strikeouts. I'll start off with Adam this time. Adam, who do you think is a league leader in strikeouts?
In strikeouts. I'm going to go Shane McClanahan.
Shane McClanahan? Now what about you, Matt?
I gotta say, right now, I know this is gonna be a surprise. I'm gonna pick a guy from the National League, and I'm going to pick my man Spencer Strider just because of how good of a year that he's had to start it off. I got to pick Spencer Strider.
You know that you're up 2-1 against Adam. Let me tell you that.
You know, I've been telling you guys, you don't believe me. I have the script. I know what's going on. Just let me tell you what's going on around here, right? I'm telling you. I know my scripts. But no, I gotta be honest. Spencer Strider, Aiden, has had such a great year to start off. He's definitely a Cy Young candidate in the National League, and I think one of the best young pitchers in the league. And that's another team that has a really good pitching staff. So let's take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk the NFL, and the schedule release is out. We got the Sunday Night Football predictions. We're going to see if Aiden and Adam at the end of the season owe me $20 or not. We'll take a quick timeout right here from M&A Sports Talk. Well, welcome back to M&A Sports Talk. I'm Matthew Kaufman, joined alongside Adam Rothschild and Aiden Roman, talking about NFL. We got our special guest coming on in just a little bit. We got Troy from the New York Knicks podcast. And Adam, let's start with this. The NFL season schedule is out. I know you're a big Jets fan. Well, let's go right into week 4. Chiefs at the Jets. What are you excited about for that matchup?
I am extremely pumped for this because we haven't had a Sunday Night Football game since 2011, and it's been a long time.
Fumble.
It's great that we have Aaron Rodgers now. Quarterback hopefully takes us back to the playoffs, which is where we belong. And going against Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be a tough game, even though we're home at MetLife. It's going to be a tough challenge, especially for the young guys we still have. I really don't see us winning this game against the defending champs because we know how Patrick Mahomes is. We know how the Chiefs are. They're a very good team, and with the experience they have, they will beat the Jets on that Sunday night, week 4.
All right, well let's shoot out some matchups out here before I get into my predictions. We are going to go week 11, Sunday Night Football on NBC. Vikings at the Denver Broncos. Aiden, what do you got for this one?
There's no doubt in my mind that the Minnesota Vikings will walk away with this W. You know, I don't think the Broncos have any insane defensive weapons to stop the Viking offense. You know, JJ was amazing last year. I don't see him slowing down this year. I think he's going to be even better than he was last year, personally.
All right, Adam, let's give you a good matchup. Bills, Bengals, rematch of a game that we didn't get to see last year on Monday night. Week 9 in Cincinnati on Sunday Night Football.
I'm going to have to go with the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to have to go with Buffalo because the Bengals, their season ended a little bit earlier last year, and I think Buffalo has a little more confidence because the Bills just can't get over that hump getting past the Chiefs, which is something that they seriously have to do this year.
All right, now here's a good one. Now I'm going to ask you both on this one because this is a tough one, and it took me a little while to decide. Eagles, Cowboys, Week 14 on Sunday Night Football. Who do you got, Aiden?
You know, only because the Dallas Cowboys are at home, I have to go with the Dallas Cowboys. Their defense is only getting better throughout time. I don't see Philadelphia coming out on top at all. The Dallas defense, don't get me wrong, the Eagles offense, it's quite the force to be reckoned with. But at Dallas, I think Dallas has this one.
Adam, who do you got?
Aiden, I'm going to agree with you 100% on this one. At AT&T Stadium in Dallas, I fully expect the Cowboys to pull out a W against one of their feared rivals in their division. And the Cowboys are a team that really, really needs to have that good season. They have always tried to have that good season just to get far in the playoffs. They need to have that good season to try to get really far. And it's either make it or break it this year for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys.
I knew that you both knew that this was coming, but I am going to pick the Eagles because this Eagles defense, we saw it last year, was spectacular. All they did was add weapons during this draft. A lot of Georgia players, we mentioned that, the Bulldogs. You might as well call them the Philadelphia Bulldogs at this point with the amount of picks. that they drafted from Georgia. So I got to pick Eagles on that one. Another game that I really found that was interesting was Bears and the Chargers, Week 8 in Los Angeles. I picked the Bears on this one. Who do you got? Adam, let's start with you. Bears, Chargers.
I'm going to be brutally honest here, but I don't give the Chicago Bears a single chance to even win this game.
Wow.
The Chargers with Justin Herbert, they're a young, hungry team. They're going to defend their home field in LA. They will. There's no way the Bears are going to win that game. I can tell you that for sure.
Aiden, what do you think? Bears or Chargers?
I have to go with the Chicago Bears only because the Los Angeles Chargers are playing Kansas City Chiefs the week prior. And I think, obviously, Kansas City is probably going to blow them out of the water. And I think they're going to be a little demoralized and fall to the Bears.
All right. Well, now it's time for me to give you my predictions. We're going to start with Thursday, Week 1. It is a Thursday night game to open up the season. Lions at the Chiefs. Obviously, I got to pick the Kansas City Chiefs. Sunday, Week 1, Cowboys at the Giants. I got to go with the Giants. Starting off the season hot, just like they did last year. Week 2, Dolphins and Patriots. I picked the Dolphins winning that game. Sunday, Week 3, Steelers versus Raiders. That's always a good one. I picked the Raiders and Jimmy Garoppolo with his new team. Week 4, Adam, we talked about this one, Chiefs, Jets. I picked the Chiefs in that one, unfortunately. Sorry, Adam, but I had to.
All good.
Week 5, another good matchup. NFC Divisional Round rematch. Cowboys at the 49ers. I picked the 49ers. Sunday, Week 6, Giants versus Bills. I do pick the Bills on that one. Sunday, Week 7, Dolphins at Eagles. I pick Philadelphia with a dominant win in that one. Sunday, Week 8, Bears, Chargers. I know you both just mentioned the Chargers. I'm going to pick the Bears on that one. Sunday, Week 9, Bills versus Bengals. A really, really good matchup that we unfortunately had to miss out on last year due to the DeMar Hamlin issue. But I do pick the Bengals winning this game. Sunday, Week 10, another good one, Jets, Raiders. In Aaron Rodgers versus Jimmy Garoppolo, an NFC Championship rematch from a few years ago, back in 2019, when Jimmy Garoppolo was with the 49ers and beat the Packers in the NFC Championship. I do have Aaron Rodgers winning this battle, though, over the Raiders. Week 11, Sunday night, Vikings, Broncos. I know, Aiden, you mentioned you got the Vikings. I agree with that. Week 12, Sunday night, Ravens, Chargers, Odell Beckham Jr. versus Keenan Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert. That's going to be a really good game, but I do have the Ravens in L.A. winning that one. Week 13, Chiefs and the Packers. Obviously, got to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe I have them undefeated this year in primetime games. Sunday, Week 14, Eagles, Cowboys. I already mentioned I'm going with the Eagles in that one in Dallas. Sunday, Week 15, another really good matchup, and I want to talk about this one real quick. Ravens at the Jaguars. Jaguars were a surprise team last year. And Aiden, I'll tell you this. I'm picking the Jaguars on this one because of how much of a surprise they were to us last year.
I don't know about that one, man. I think I'd have to, you have the script. Don't get me wrong. But I do have to go against the script right here and say the Ravens, with the new addition of Odell and Lamar, you have a great wide receiver. You have an amazing quarterback. I think they'll be unstoppable.
All right, Week 16, Bengals versus Steelers in the Steel City in Pittsburgh. I am picking the Bengals and Joe Burrow. Week 17, this is a good one. This is the old division rival between the Packers and the Vikings. I do pick the Vikings. Now, talking about the Vikings, I'm just going to mention what a receiving core that this team has and what they've added offensively. Obviously, they had Kirk Cousins last year, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. But Jordan Addison being added to that roster is just an unbelievable weapon. You lose Adam Thielen, you pick up a guy and a rookie like Jordan Addison at a USC. I think this is a great draft pick, and I think Kirk Cousins' stats could be MVP-like at the end of the season.
You're definitely not wrong. Kirk Cousins, obviously, you've seen it year in and year out. He has the ability to be, I'm not going to say championship caliber quarterback, but definitely a second round playoff caliber. He has been elite. He, prime time. You know the gist with Kirk Cousins.
Now I'm going to ask you each, what is your most highly anticipated matchup during this 2023 season? Out of all the games that are going to be played, what is your most matchup that you cannot wait to see?
Now, I'm going to say this only because of, if you guys watched the last podcast against me and Adam, it's going to be the Giants and Jets. I'm not sure if you played this year. If we do, the Giants
Indeed,
and
we
Jets.
do.
Yep, Giants and Jets. I'm going to say that's going to be a good one. As Adam said, the fight for New York, and I'm going to say the Giants do come out on top.
Now, we do play them, and we play them at home. It is technically a home game for the Giants on October the 29th. That'll be a good one. And I'm going to tell you the game that I'm looking forward to the most, and I just mentioned it before, Bengals, Bills in Cincinnati, just because of how good of a game that could turn out to be. Now, I want to talk about one more team before we get ready for Troy to join us in just a couple of minutes to talk about Knicks and the rest of the NBA playoffs. But a team that I mentioned last week, and it really shocked both of you, and I could understand why, but I want to talk about the Atlanta Falcons real quick because so many people don't realize that this is a team offensively that could be really good. But at the same time, you look at the depth chart and you just looking at the roster, okay? Looking at the roster and looking at the players offensively, defensively, the stats from last year, where they stood, this is a quarterback that is going to be a rookie, Desmond Ridder. But let's look at the offense. An offense that doesn't have too many weapons, okay? But Marcus Mariota leaves the team. He's out. Kyle Pitts last year, who was with the Falcons, still is obviously, but he was kind of an in and out last year. I think if Kyle Pitts could get going and Drake London have a really good year again, this is a team you got to watch out for. Do I think they're going to go to the playoffs? No, but I definitely think it's going to be a good one. All right, now it's time to welcome our new guest. We have Troy. Welcome in, Troy. How you doing?
What's going on, guys? Matt, Adam, what's going on? Aiden, how's everybody doing?
We're good. We're good. Thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to talk some basketball.
Yeah, I'm very, very well. I usually say I'm very, very excited to talk basketball.
But not this week.
This is my beverage for tonight, so that's kind of why. Not feeling too happy, but it is what it is. What's up, guys?
And we'll start with what your thoughts of how the game was played the other night in Miami. Let's start with that, actually. Troy, let's start with what are your thoughts, and do you think there was a better way to have played that game in an elimination and a really important game like that?
So, first of all, great question. Happy to join you guys. Really excited to be on the show. Game 6 for me was a big issue. We saw a lot of different keys and flaws that I thought were some of the main aspects of why we lost the game. Some of the biggest ones, a lot of the fan base, I polled them already. Julius Randle. Julius Randle has had 2 chances at the playoffs. He's done a little bit, but definitely not enough. He's been terrible in the playoffs. And if you're going to tell me, a lot of fans have been bickering back and forth. They don't really like my Randle takes too much. But if you're going to tell me that Julius Randle can give you 27, 10, and 8 in the regular season, but give you 2 and 10 in the playoffs, do I want him? I don't want him. It's great to get me to the dance, but once I get there, if you're not going to dance with me, why did you even bring me? There's something to say about that. Julius Randle has an impact. He's one of the better power forwards in the league. I think we all can agree to that. That's why he made, all third NBA team, right? It's because of how good he plays. But here's the thing. The impact that he can play with in those numbers are what happens when you insert somebody who has a modicum of skill into a number 2 position role. Now, I'm not saying everybody can do that. But people are always throwing the COVID year at me and all these other things. If I picked Jeremy Grant, right, and I gave him his own team, pretty sure he'd probably put up similar numbers to what Julius Randle is doing. So it's sometimes the numbers game, when people talk about that, it doesn't matter so much to me. It's about impact with your team. If he can't be impactful with Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett and Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson, who's the core of your team, then there's two things that need to happen. Either he needs to go, or you need to figure out a way to put things around Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson that can work. Now, you could do that. You could put a lot of shooters around them. We were the worst shooting team in the playoff, guys. The worst. There was nobody shooting worse than us in the playoffs. We need shooters. That's another reason that we lost. But the shooters we had didn't shoot. Quentin Grimes, one of the better three-point shooters we had, couldn't make a basket. Manuel Quickly, even though he went down injured, and shout out to Quick, I hope he gets better fast. After that happened, he wasn't even his playoff self in the entire playoffs. He didn't play like the regular season Quickly that we needed, so a lot of the games were closer. If he was more on point, the games would have been blowouts. That's how significant a role he has. So we actually have shooters. So what's missing then? Jalen Brunson's a number 2, maybe a 1B. I might take it back. Maybe a 1B, but he's really playing like a number 2, guys. The fact that he's playing like a number 2, but he's really your number 1 on the Knicks, tells you need a legitimate number 1. You need a superstar to join this team. And Jalen Brunson might be hitting the cusp of it, but he's not there yet. He's a number 2. You need a number 1 to make championship moves. So they need to make a move. They need to add a shooter, Gary Trent Jr. Heard he's available. Gary Trent Jr. maybe, or some other shooters you think are on the market. And they got to figure out what to do with Randle. Either build around him or trade him. But you cannot do what you're continuing to do with him because it doesn't work. ISO heavy play doesn't work. Why did the Heat beat us? They passed the ball 1,000 times around until they got an open shooter and then they shot. Not hard.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Troy, the numbers. Let's go into those numbers. 36 minutes in Game 6. He was 3 of 14 from the field, 1 for 7 in 3-point attempts. He only had 2 offensive rebounds. He had 11 total rebounds, but 15 points. Now, don't get me wrong. There are other guys who could have made up for those points, but they didn't. Jalen Brunson drops 41 in that game, and out of 41, a total of the Knicks' points was 92 total points in that game. So definitely they got to get the shooters around him. Now, Adam, I know me and you were talking about this earlier today. Karl Anthony Towns, we've seen a lot of rumors about that. Adam, what are your thoughts? And do you think that could be an option for the New York Knicks? And Troy, I definitely want to get your opinion after as well.
I definitely think it could be. I think it could be an option if they choose to trade Randle. Obviously, that's not our decision, but it obviously depends on what assets they give. Obviously, we heard Evan Fournier saying that he knows he's going to be traded at some point during this offseason, which I can absolutely expect. And these are assets the Knicks have, but obviously they need room for more stuff just to figure this all out, because right now it's a debacle right now with the way the season ended.
Talking about figuring stuff out, I'm going to ask you a question, Troy. Do you think it would be smart for the Knicks, after seeing what Julius Randle can do in the playoffs compared to Jalen Brunson, do you guys think it would be a smarter idea to stop building around Julius and maybe send him off somewhere else and build around Jalen Brunson? I know we have him for another 3 years. I think it'd be smarter. Just looking at the stats during the playoffs, he was the only consistent shooter. Let's talk about Game 1, dropped 25 points. Move on to Game 2, 30. Game 3, drops 20 points. Game 4, 32. Game 5, 38. And Game 6, in the elimination game, drops 41 points. He's showing us Knicks fans, what he's capable of doing in the playoffs. I know he didn't get a ton of that on the Mavericks, but in New York, he seems a whole lot different.
Yeah, and I think another big part of that, Aiden, is the fact that they don't have the weapons besides Jalen Brunson around Julius Randle. You can't go into every game thinking that Brunson's going to be able to put up 41 points. Josh Hart is going to be able to put up the amount of points. Grimes and Quickly and all these other guys coming all over the place, they're not going to be able to be your everyday player if one of them get hurt, like we saw Quickly got hurt. I think that's the factor that Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks are missing to get over that hump. Now, don't get me wrong. Miami's players also had a big opportunity because we saw Jimmy Butler. He scored 24 points. Bam Adebayo scored 23 points. Max Strus, 14 points. Just looking off the bench, Kyle Lowry had 11 points. But you look at the rebound numbers, he had 1 turnover in that game total, 4 rebounds, 2 of them offensive, 2 of them defensive rebounds. So without a doubt, I think that the Knicks were just outplayed by Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo as a Miami team altogether. I just think that they couldn't get the job done because, as Troy mentioned before, they didn't have the weapons, Adam, that the Miami Heat had. And we know the rumors could be true. They could not be true with Karl Anthony Towns. And Aiden, I'll ask you this because I just asked Adam. What are your thoughts on the Karl Anthony Towns opportunity that the Knicks could possibly get?
You know, as much as I would love to say, yes, come over to New York for Randall, I don't want him in New York only because we have centers already. I don't think it'd be the right move to throw a guy of his size at the power forward position or give Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson less minutes. You know what I'm saying, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. So now, Troy, I know before you cut out there for a second, we're talking about Karl Anthony Towns. Do you think that would be up for grabs or a good decision by this Knicks organization? What are your thoughts?
First of all, apologies about that. Internet service is really spotty today. But let's talk about it. Karl Anthony Towns. Man, another thing that I forgot to mention is center position play. We were talking about why we lost before. Mitchell Robinson is probably one of the best defensive centers in the East. Probably the best defensive center in the East. One of the best in the league, right? But has no offensive game. Not really. I mean, putbacks, maybe some lobs here and there. But really what the Knicks need is a center who can create their own shot. Karl Anthony Towns solves that issue. But he's a little soft. He doesn't play defense as heavy as Mitchell Robinson does. He's gotten better defensively over the years, but he still needs that body, that frame to kind of take contact. And you'll notice that when he does his game, if he plays against another physical big, look how he plays Embiid. He'll usually try to take Embiid by baseline or by free throw extended, right? He'll never try to push him inside. There's a reason for that. Embiid's big. He can push back. He's like a statue in there. It's hard to kind of push Embiid around. You can't. He's too heavy. Even if he's not that muscular, he's very, very heavy. So it's hard to push him around, even if you're cat size. So he has trouble in there. And I think for the Knicks to have a good offense, you're going to need somebody who can kind of play both ends. He's knocking on the door, but a lot of people forget he played for Thibs. I don't know how that relationship is. So, they never really had a love-hate relationship, but it really wasn't, like a Derrick Rose level type of relationship either. So I'm not sure what happened there and things like that. Maybe he's forgotten. Maybe he doesn't care anymore. If he's available, I have to at least listen to the trade because the Knicks need him. Shooting, offensive play from a center position. If you can move Mitch to the bench, imagine this. Imagine you have Mitch on the bench and a Cat starting in the playoffs. That changes everything, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right, so your bench is heavily defended now, and and he's not a bad defender. I would say he's above average, right, in terms of defense, in terms of his position. So maybe above average. You give that up, I think. So the paint's going to be a little bit more open to begin with, but that really didn't matter to Miami. Was shooting lights out. So
yeah, and I know when you cut out, I did mention the fact that it didn't help that Butler had 24 points and Adebayo had 23 points. And that's kind of what the Knicks were missing. They were missing those guys to help out Jalen Brunson, who he dropped 41 points. But as we mentioned, as a whole, you look at this Knicks offense, Randall had 15. Robinson, as you mentioned, had 2. RJ Barrett had 11. Grimes had 3. You going off the bench, Toppin had 7 points. Hartenstein had 2 points. Josh Hart, who's the other key factor, he had 11 points. You can't rely on just Jalen Brunson because 41 of the 92 total points came out of the hands of Jalen Brunson. Now, Troy, do you see maybe another center if the Karl Anthony Towns doesn't pan out for the Knicks? Do you see maybe another center at a free agency that the Knicks could go after that would be a good fit?
So I'm going to mention a name, but let me first mention somebody to watch. There's something happening in Philadelphia right now. They have to make a lot of decisions. If a guy named Joel, you can finish your last name himself, if that guy becomes available, the Knicks need to go after him because he changes everything for this team. Everything. If you keep Jalen, well, you have to keep Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, Joel Embiid already sounds scary. That alone sounds scary. If you're managing to keep RJ Barrett in this deal as well, too, keep some of your bench, maybe hold on to either an IQ or a Grimes, and then build around what you have there. That could be a scary team. So one to watch. But I believe Christian Wood, guys, please check me on this. I believe Christian Wood is available. If he is available, that's the guy that I would go after because you might be able to get him on the low because he didn't really play that well for Dallas because they didn't really utilize him that well. And also, Luka dominated offenses. I mean, you see what it can do. Jalen Brunson, for God's sakes, left Dallas and he was second, I think, in most improved player votes. I mean, that's the difference. That's what he can do. I would imagine Christian Wood has the same effect as well, too. He's a little bit more power forward as well, so you might be able to play a little bit more small ball with him as well, too, if you wanted to. But even if you didn't, you have him at a center. I think with Julius Randle and Christian Wood, my God, that would be sensational. Not only for rebounding, but he's a pretty good defender, and his offensive game is elite in comparison to Mitch. So at this point, I'm trying to really upgrade the center and also give us more offense because that's exactly what we needed. We needed to hit back. We could never hit back because Mitch has no moves inside. You saw the one move he did, the really scary, jerky, oh my God, please never do that again move where he tried to catch him baseline, pushed him back and like kind of threw it up there like he was, I don't even know what he was doing. Like, why do that against Bam? I don't know, man. I
mean, yeah, I think down to it, if you're the Knicks head coach or owner or whatever, do you think if you put Julius Randle on the trading block, you would get something, or maybe even more, like better in return, or would you think you'd get something even or a couple of draft picks?
See, the thing is, with a trade, it's never going to be even. No matter how much you want it to be even, it's not going to be. Look what KD, got. You didn't get an all-star back, okay? Now, look, Mikal Bridges probably is going to be an all-star. Those numbers are ridiculous. I wanted Mikal Bridges. I wish we got him. But listen, that type of trade, that's a steal for a trade because what if Mikal Bridges turned into nothing? What if that all defense and some good offense turned into really good defense and no offense? What if that happened? This trade would look like a steal for the Suns and a shot to the leg to the Brooklyn Nets, who I'm really happy to see get shot. No problem for me because I hate the Nets, right? New Jersey Nets, I should say. They should go back to Jersey. I don't need New York with any more teams. We got a good team already. But no, listen, man. I think it's gonna be an interesting offseason, to say the least. I think the Knicks have a lot of thinking to do. I think the league has a lot of thinking to do in regards to the team who takes it this year. Because even when I said, with KD, right? The Phoenix Suns, they may be eliminated, but they're going to build around those two, right? Chris Paul might be out, but they're going to build around those two. I think a lot of teams are going to figure out who is the key player to build around and kind of jump in between that, So I think it kind of depends on some of that. But Julius Randle personally doesn't have his trade value is up and down, right? If you're looking at the regular season, he has a lot of trade value, like a ton of trade value, right? But if you're looking at the playoffs, it sinks. That's why the trade is never going to be fair, ever. You're probably going to, like, people are thinking about, I can get an all-star for him. If you trade, imagine just a trade for Cat, right? What a trade for Cat might be. Even if it is Julius Randle, you're still probably going to give up Emmanuel quickly. You're probably still going to give up, maybe 2 or 3 first-round picks. right? And even that, if I gave up all of that and Emmanuel quickly turns into, an 8-time All-Star or something like that when he starts, the Knicks are going to look dumb, even if Karl-Anthony Towns helps lead us to even the finals. We could, if we win, obviously nobody will say anything about it, right? But I think you have to look at what a trade could be. So if I told you it would cost that to get Cat, would you take it? That's the question. And some fans would be on the fence about that because of Quickly, not because of Randall, because of Quickly. And also that upgrade, is it a fair upgrade? Are you going to get the same production out of Cat as you would with Randall? And a lot of people say that that's what they expect back. You're never going to get that. Like, people have to understand that. Even if you traded for Cat, I don't want Cat to do what Randall did, because what Randall does doesn't work. He needs to play within the flow of the offense. So that's different. I want a player like that. I want a player who doesn't lose his cool and gets angry with his other teammates. I want a player who keeps consistent effort on both ends of the floor and doesn't give up on a play in the playoffs. I need a player like that to understand where the moment is, where we are. That's the player that we're looking for. And you're never going to get that player if you just trade Julius Randle. So a trade for any star is not going to equal just Julius Randle. It's going to equal Julius Randle plus draft picks plus a rising star that we have. Grimes, Quickly, Toppin, one of them is going in a trade for Cat. And that's the least. And with this market that's been reset, who knows what else is going to take? We got to think about those things if you want to make those type of trades. And I don't know if the Knicks are going to do that. I think they're going to look for something in free agency, guys.
Now, Adam, I know, actually funny, me and you were talking about this today earlier with the Joel Embiid thing and how he seemed to be frustrated, and as a player, a star as an organization in your organization, but I can see Troy crossing his fingers, saying a prayer right now over there, trying to hope that Embiid could become a New York Knick. And don't get me wrong, I think that'd be an amazing opportunity for the New York Knicks. But Adam, you mentioned this to me earlier today that he did not seem very happy after the way that he, and not just him, but Harden played in that second half. They were neck and neck that first half, and it just fell off the bridge, it seemed like, for Philadelphia.
Yeah, from what I can say from this, like, Embiid clearly said in the postgame that him and James Harden, they can't win alone. They can't. They need someone else there. They need another piece in Philly if they want to do it. But obviously, with the rumors coming of James Harden possibly returning to Houston, and then the pressure is going to be on Joel Embiid. It's going to be a decision on him. The front office is going to have to figure out what the heck to do with him, and Philly is going to have to make some moves, just like New York is trying to do. It's going to have to come down to that, and the pressure. Of course, Doc Rivers. I'm assuming he will be relieved of his duties probably after that Game 7, because his records in a Game 7 are not very good at the moment.
Yeah, and another guy, Joel Embiid, he's 0-7 now in Game 7s, now 0-8 because, and Aiden, I can see you shaking your head there, and Troy, the same thing, he's a guy that he just won an MVP. Teams all over the world and the league, when a guy on your team wins MVP, usually you go on a little bit of a playoff run. We've seen it in MLB. We've seen it in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes won the MVP last year in the NFL, and what did he do? He beat the best team, it seemed like, in the NFL, in the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. Aaron Judge hit 62 home runs. He won the MVP. The Yankees came up short in the championship series as they got swept by the Astros. But Joel Embiid, to win an MVP and then to play as, unfortunately, you could say awfully as they did in that second half. The third quarter, they scored 10 total points, did Philadelphia. I'll tell you right now, that's almost as much as the Yankees scored in a baseball game on Saturday when they scored 9 runs. So the fact that a basketball team scored 10 points in a 12-minute period is not good news, and something has to be fixed. It just has to be, because you're neck and neck with a team 55-55 almost at halftime, and then you score 10 points in the third quarter, you score 26 points in the fourth quarter, but then sitting next to you got Jason Tatum, who dropped 51 points, and a Celtics team that scored 33 points in the third quarter. I'll tell you right now, if you stay on that rotation and what's going to happen, Not only is Joel Embiid going to be 0-8 now in Game 7s, he's never going to win a Game 7 if they play like that again. And I think, Aiden, I know you were just shaking your head when you saw that in Troy, same thing. But how does this get fixed for the 76ers?
I can't say I don't think the James Harden trade was as great as it sounded. I mean, after the two 40-point games, I said it the other, I think episode 11 of the podcast, the 76ers can't win unless he drops 40 plus, James Harden. But, the next one win, that they had, he started declining. He only had 17 points, and then he had 10 points, and then he had 9 points. After those couple wins, I don't really know what else there is to do. Do you guys think that it was smart to bring James Harden over there, or do you think they should have kept what they had?
I don't think that it was a horrible decision of what they were trying to build. They were trying to get Embiid a weapon that could shoot like James Harden. But at the same time, and I'm going to read you this stat. I know this is going to make the 76ers fans cringe a lot. I could say a little bit, but you can't. That'd just be lying to them. 9 total points for James Harden. 15 for the NBA's MVP, Joel Embiid. But 9 total points for James Harden. Now, we mentioned how much Julius Randle struggled. James Harden was 3 of 11 from the field, 1 for 5 beyond the arc. He was 2 for 2 from the line. He had 5 defensive rebounds, but 9 points, Troy. 9.
It's kind of that's pretty terrible. Not gonna lie. I've seen a lot of players. I've seen Harden play so many different playoff games. That was probably his worst playoff game I think I've ever seen him play. And that's saying a lot. I've seen him collapse in so many games. I can still count the Houston Rocket games. The Chris Paul missing the game likely would have sent them to the finals. Oh my! I could count it on my hands, man. And that's still probably the worst performance. 9 points.
Yeah, and another one, not only did Randall struggle, Harden struggle, Klay Thompson, 8 points, 2 for 12 from 3, 3 of 19 from the field. Aiden, what happened to Game 6, Klay, man?
I'm not going to lie. I had to have looked at the wrong script for that. I did say Game 6 Klay was going to go off, and like he used to all the time. But, we didn't see it too much in the Kings series. I kind of had a feeling we weren't going to see it too much in the Lakers series either. But at the end of the day, Stephen Curry is doing all he can. And do you think, I'm going to ask you, Adam, do you think the Warrior dynasty is over after this elimination game?
I was telling Matt this earlier that I think it is. But at the same time, really anything can happen with this roster. They could add a bunch of veterans. And they could try something for one more run, but I would say right now, especially with their age right now, especially getting up there, I would say the dynasty is slowly coming down. Especially where the Warriors were this year. They were the worst team in the league on the road. They couldn't win a road game for their life, and just it was a struggle for them. They came into the playoffs like right around 500. It was not good.
Now I don't know if you guys do any research or watch, or you definitely hear about him, Mr. Jordan Poole. What is going on with Poole? Last year in the playoffs, I should say, he was great. Everybody thought, possibly the next Splash Brother to join them. Shooting shots that Klay Thompson and Curry have been doing for quite the amount of time. And then you go to this year, and once the postseason hits, it's like he forgot to shoot the 3-ball.
Yeah. The Lakers defense shut him down. I mean, he couldn't get many shots up. It was after that brick in Game 1 that he missed that potential game winner against the Lakers. That was the turning point right there. Like it was. I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, the Lakers were the better team in this series, and I'm sure all of you can agree with me on this. That the Lakers proved that they're not done yet. It's pretty obvious. They turned their season around quick, and that's why the Warriors are not playing right now.
Yeah, and obviously with Jordan Poole, and Troy, I'm going to ask you this, and Adam, I know and Aiden, I know I talked to you about this already, and we mentioned it last week when we were live at Aruga's. Who did Jordan Poole think that he was shooting that shot? He's not Damian Lillard. I'll tell you that. And he knows that. He knows he's not making that shot. And to put it up with the amount of time that they had, we talked about Jalen Brunson dropping 41 points. You could say he's him. Jordan Poole was trying to be that, and he wasn't. And I'll tell you that for a fact, Troy, because that was, in my opinion, probably the worst shot you could have taken in that situation, unless you shot it from half court.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Poole. He's had one of the most up and down playoffs because sometimes in the playoffs he's been there for you when you needed him at times, but then there are other stretches he goes through where he just doesn't have a brain or something like that. He seems to step out of baseline like crazy, and then he seems to pass out of bounds. It gets different turnovers, misses open shots, and then forces that. The worst thing about Poole is when he forces shots, because he feels like he needs to get into the offense, because he feels like he's the cause of, what's happening, And to an extent, that's true, but it's 5-on-5. If you don't got it, you got to give it to somebody else to do. You're not Steph. There's a problem going on over here. He heard all that chatter about he's next, another splash brother, and that puts a lot of confidence and a lot of pressure on you as well, too, to perform like one of the splash brothers. Klay Thompson, another classic example. He had to perform like the splash brother he used to be when we all knew he wasn't going to be. He has his games. He had, how much points he scored against the Lakers? Not the Lakers. I think it was a series before that. He scored 36 or 40-something points? Something like that, right? So he had a high-scoring game before. But see, that's the thing. Klay is very inconsistent. He's not going to be that scorer that you needed him to be. So to answer your other question, the dynasty is dead. It's definitely dead. They killed it this year. It's gone. Steph Curry is the only remaining piece you can use. Who else? Maybe Wiggins, of course, but Draymond Green don't got it like that no more. Klay Thompson damn sure don't got it like that no more. And if Jordan Poole continues this stretch, he might just turn into J.R. Smith. So we got a couple of things to address here if we're in the Warriors section. And if they want to build this dynasty back, they're going to need to make some moves, because it does not look good right now if you're a Warriors fan.
I love how the way that you described that whole situation, because you're right. It could be the end of the dynasty. And Adam, you labeled it as the end of the dynasty for what could be. But how do you get this dynasty back? I mean, Curry was shooting unbelievable last year. He had some of the clutchest shots in those finals games where all we heard from Mike Breen was bang every 3 seconds, it seemed like. So where does that come from to bring back into next year if this dynasty is still where it is and they do maybe have one more run in them? How do you get that back?
Personally, I think the last run that they had was definitely last year. I don't see them winning anymore unless some crazy trades go on during the next offseason or two. But I don't know. In my opinion, Draymond Green, it's definitely time to hang him up. I'm not going to lie. You had your run. You have the championships. It's definitely time to hang him up. Klay Thompson, maybe things got to his head in the playoffs. Definitely got to his head in the playoffs. You saw he was shooting perfectly fine, or shooting good in the regular season. But it's kind of like Julius Randle a little bit. Once the playoffs hit, New York is a rough place, especially for the players if you are in a bad stretch. It can get in your mind quickly. And I know we saw I think it was last year with Julius Randle, him thumping down the fans. It clearly got to him, and that's why he had a bad stretch. But once, I don't want to say accepted the fans, or once he finally got on that good stretch, he started enjoying the fans.
And I think that talking about what this Warriors team can do and what they have coming up into next season, obviously every team has something to think about during the offseason, and that's what the offseason is kind of for. Take us some time, figure out what you need. But let's talk about the 4 teams that are remaining as we wrap things up here on episode 13. We got in the conference finals, Boston and Miami, and then we got the Joker with the Nuggets, and then King James and the Lakers. So, Troy, let's kind of break these 2 matchups down. First, let's start with the Eastern Conference finals, Boston and Miami. What does this kind of look like for you from watching these two teams play, who do you think comes on top, and how do you think it comes on top?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think, first of all, it's going to be a great series. I always love these type of series as well, too. The teams want to fight. Obviously, Tatum, craziest game, 51 points in game 7. That's it. Like, that's Curry-like, like we're talking about Steph Curry territory. That's great in terms of what you can do. And he's coming off of that type of performance going into this series. Ooh, I'm going with Boston, and I'm a Knicks fan, and I hate Boston. But I can't lose money. I'm not going to bet against Tatum no more. And Jaylen Brown is always a playoff performer as well, too. Don't get it twisted. Al Horford seems to find his three-point shot every single time. They seem to have a lot of weapons on that team, especially, Malcolm Brogdon. Marcus Smart has been phenomenal for that team. They ride with his energy. So I'm going with Boston. I'm going with Boston in 6, actually. But who knows, man? If they go on a hot stretch, they might close it out in 5. I think it's definitely going to be Boston coming out of the East.
Now let's go over to the Western Finals. Now here's this one for you. And Adam, this is going to get you, I think, on this one. This is a true or false question for you. You ready? The Nuggets have lost all 7 playoff series against the Lakers in their history. True or false?
That's true. 100%.
That is true. You're right. And, just thinking of that, being an MVP candidate like Nikola Jokic was, and the team that's been built around him, Adam, to see that the Lakers and LeBron James at this age playing the way he is, he still has a chance to put another ring on that finger.
Yeah, well, LeBron is going to put another ring on that finger because the pressure in this series is on the Denver Nuggets because it's make or break. This is the best team that Nikola Jokic is going to get. It's the best team he's going to get with the best bench. They're one of the best teams in the NBA, obviously the number 1 seed, and they've had a great run so far, beating Minnesota and Denver on their way to the conference finals. LeBron and the Lakers, they've had a much, much different route, playing against top teams, not with home court advantage in either round of the playoffs so far against Memphis and Golden State. It's going to be a great series. I'm going to think this is probably going to go 7 games if the Lakers give a fight. I'm going to go Lakers in 7.
Aiden, what do you got?
If Anthony Davis is hot, I would have to say the Lakers close it out in 6 or 5. But if he gets, the little injury bug and he's a little cold, I see Denver winning in 7.
Troy?
Yeah, I got Lakers in 5.
All right. Well, I got to say that this Lakers team really shocked a lot of people, and this is a Lakers team that seemed like they weren't all there at first when the season kind of tipped off. A team that was last in the Pacific standings behind the Warriors, behind the Clippers, behind the Suns, and behind Sacramento. This is the team that won 43 total games this year, and they're playing in a conference final against the number 1 seed, Denver Nuggets. So this is definitely going to be a great series to watch. And I'll tell you, just like going back, and Adam, Aiden, we talked about this a few episodes ago, how good that Warriors-Kings series was. I would love to see these 2 conference final series between Boston and Miami and Denver and LA to be just like that, because I'll tell you, that makes some exciting basketball without a doubt. Now, Troy, before we let you go here and before we wrap things up, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. We definitely appreciate all the insight that you gave, and definitely to make sure that all of our viewers today go on Instagram and make sure you hit the follow button on the Knicks Recap and help out Troy, the host of the Knicks Recap podcast, special guest interviews, graphic designer, video producer, and of course, we love having you on. We love talking basketball with you, Troy. Hopefully, we could get you on for another episode in the future. And fingers crossed, Joel Embiid winds up being a New York Knick this offseason.
Yeah, singing my prayers, guys. You're singing my prayers. Please, heavens, listen to me. Please give me Joel Embiid. I've been good all year. Please. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But anyways, guys, I appreciate the time. Of course, thank you for the shout out. I'll support you guys as well, too. And yeah, man, whenever you want me on again, just let me know, and I'll be happy to come on. Appreciate you guys, man. Let's go New York.
Let's go New York. All right, that's going to wrap things up for us here on M&A Sports Talk, episode number 13. Again, once one more time. Special shout out to Troy. I'm Matthew Kaufman, Adam Rothschild, and Aiden Roman saying so long from episode number 13. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify and on YouTube for more episodes. See you next time on M&A Sports Talk.
The 2-0. Driven in the air to right field.